Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance. So sit back, relax and enjoy some satisfying stories. I'm not a customer? Alright, I'm not a customer. Virtually all restrooms in downtown Denver require a purchase to use the bathroom. Not a big deal to me, and I have no problem abiding by that rule. Yesterday, I took the wife and kids downtown to shop around and eat dinner. We stopped in a little store where my wife bought a purse for just under $200. We left and about 30 minutes later, my daughter needed to use the restroom. We happened to be close to the same store, so we went into there with the same employee who rang us up and asked to use the restroom. She said we'd have to make a purchase. I had my receipt and showed I did make a purchase. She was the one who rang us up. She argued that we'd have to make a purchase again now to be considered customers to use the restroom. My daughter was struggling, so I grabbed a chapstick off the counter and bought that, while the employee gave me the attitude like she just pulled one over on me. She gave me the passcode, and my wife handed me her new purse and went to the restroom with our daughter. The moment she closed the door, I turned back to the cashier and demanded a refund on both the chapstick and the purse. She argued that I couldn't do that, but I pointed to her sign saying there is a 7-day return policy, no questions asked. Took a picture of it with my phone and asked if she wanted to process the refund, or I'll just have Visa do a chargeback to get my money that way. She silently processed the returns just as my girls returned. She tried to say something to my wife about me refunding the purse, and my wife replied after her attitude she didn't want it anymore anyways. Do these people get paid more for not allowing people into the bathroom or something? I can understand not just allowing everyone into the bathroom, but when they have bought something and you just go, no, you have to buy something again, it's like, okay, yeah, I don't want to be your customer. Only pepperoni and cheese? You got it, lady. This happened today while I was at work. I work at a gas station that has a pretty good pizza place in it, and tonight I was working pretty much alone, getting hammered with orders coming in non-stop. About halfway through my rush, an online order comes through, and almost immediately the phone rings. I drop what I'm doing and go answer, expecting another order. But it was just a customer, let's call her Karen, wanting to confirm that her online order had come through. I asked the name and confirmed the order with the Karen. It was one large all-meat pizza, and I very specifically remember confirming this because she said that was correct and she would be using a coupon for it. I didn't really think anything of it and just went back to work making the pies. Jump ahead about an hour toward the end of the rush, and the phone rings. I again prepare to take another order, but instead am greeted by an angry customer saying that I messed up their pizza. I apologized and asked for the name so that I could look up the order, and she says Karen. It has not been that long and I remember the name, saying absent-minded, "Oh yeah, I remember the order. You called to confirm and I remember we agreed the order was correct." Well, the order I put in was for the all meat, but I wanted it with only double pepperoni on one half and only cheese on the other. Okay, let me just pull up the record and we can get this sorted for you. The only way to sort it out is for you to make me what I ordered. By this time, I had the order slip pulled up on the screen and could clearly see that there were no special instructions, but was not really looking forward to telling that to Karen. So I politely ask if she would mind holding while I talk with my manager to solve the issue, and she agrees. I head over to the manager's office and explain the situation to her. She is a very easygoing person, and I love working for her because she will almost always just tell us to use our best judgment. The pizza here is super overpriced, and the profit margin for a single pie is somewhere around 400%. She said to just make whatever she wants and I agreed. Back on the phone, I tell Karen that I would be happy to make the correct order for her and asked her exactly what she wanted. She said it exactly like this. I want a large hand-tossed crust with only double pepperoni on one half and only cheese on the other half. I repeated exactly what she said and was told yes, that it was correct. I tell Karen to give me 15 minutes and she could pick up her pizza. Here is where the malicious compliance comes into play. I make exactly what she ordered. I rolled out the large crust, tossed it out to a large size, put it in a pan, added a layer of pepperoni on one half, then put cheese over the other half. I'm sure most of you know how a pizza is prepared and can tell that there was a skipped step in there. You know, pizza sauce. Karen did not ask for sauce on the pizza, and I made sure that I let my manager know that I made exactly what she ordered to help cover my backside when she called in to complain. When Karen came to pick up her pizza, I had my manager take it out to her and ask her if the order was correct, reading from the large slip. Large hand-tossed crust with only double pepperoni on one half and only cheese on the other half. Karen smiled and said yes, then took the pie and left. Jumped to the end of my shift and my manager let me know that Karen had called in to demand a refund for her pizza because it had no sauce and was dry. Manager refused because she went over the order with Karen before she left with the pizza and told her she got exactly what she ordered. You'd think the Karen might, check the pizza before she leaves with it, but I guess that's the level of intelligence from them. You want hot? You get hot. I had a nuisance table at my restaurant. Not the kind to make a scene, but just quietly demanding and picky enough to affect my service to other tables. Picture the I have money and I'm used to getting what I want type. Not to mention, they want to eat out on the deck, doubling my walk time to the table. Come the end of their meal, one of them is grilling me on what type of coffee we have, what temperature it will be, etc. We have a pre-programmed Nespresso machine, so it's pod in, push button, coffee out. We have different pods, but at the end of the day, it's just coffee. Cue face pulling from customer after learning I won't bring them a nice cafetiere. However, they must absolutely have their post-dessert coffee, so it'll do. Before I walk away, I'm informed that if the coffee is not hot, they will definitely send it back. Okay then. So their coffee goes from pod to cup to table in the usual fashion, though not before taking a detour via the microwave. It's bubbling when I take it out. Customer takes a small sip when I set it down, and it's clear from the raised eyebrow and sharp intake of breath that molten lava has nothing on the contents of this cup. It took longer than average for this cup to be finished. They seemed to leave happy, and I never heard anything about the resulting quality of the nuked coffee. I take pride in customer satisfaction, so if you ask for hot, you get hot. Didn't someone sue McDonald's over coffee that was too hot? I think that was like an actual lawsuit that went down, but I'm not sure. Here's your salt, Karen. So, once in my younger days, when I worked a conventional job, I was making food at a lovely place called Quebec Tango, or QT. I was nearing the end of my shift, but as what typically happens when you're working in the kitchen, you get an order right after you have cleaned down all your equipment and stocked everything. In comes a delightful lady named Karen. Karen ordered a very simple order, a pretzel with cheese dip. No problem. I quickly make the order as it is a simple one, and hand it to her with a smile and tell her to have a good night. End of story, right? Wrong. Karen opened the box and clearly was just baffled at what she sees. She tells me the pretzel is all wrong and how I ruined her night. I asked her what was wrong with it and she doesn't tell me. I offer to make her a new one and she accepts. I make a new one completely normal, just like her order says, and hand her a coupon for a free ice cream for her next visit. All is well. Nope. This time she screams at me and pulls a typical Karen and asks for my manager. I said sure, and went to get her. Karen is now yelling at the manager, and when she finally tells us what's wrong with the pretzel, she said, "The salt grains are too big. You will remake this pretzel correctly." That's right, Karen got mad because the salt grain size was too large for her liking. My manager smiles and says, "Sure, we'll make you a new one." So, we make the new one and my manager crushed up the salt and put it on there and handed it to her. That's when Karen complained that they were too small. At this point, we have clearly figured out she wants free food and to complain, so we stop giving her what she wants. And when she goes to pay, she's charged for all 3 pretzels. She's mad about this, thinking we were going to give her the pretzels for free, but even though we typically only charge you for a remade one, a bad attitude can get you things you don't want. If someone said to me, "Oh, this is wrong, it's not how I wanted it," and then I said, "Why is it wrong?" and they said, "I'm not telling you," you're not getting another one remade, I'm sorry. You've been randomly selected. This happened about 3 years ago while going through an airport in the US. I walked through the metal detector. Something must have beeped as they needed to pat me down. After a thorough pat down, I put my shoes on and started to walk over to grab my bag. A TSA agent stops me and says, "You've been randomly selected. Please step into my body scanner." I was polite but said that I really didn't want to get into the body scanner and asked if there was another way. The agent said that I could get a pat down. I said, "Well, I just got a pat down, so..." They angrily told me to pick an option. So I took 2 steps backwards to the woman who had patted me down 30 seconds ago and spread 'em again. While she was patting me down, I asked her if she found anything new. She stared daggers at me but let me go. I gotta say, that's a ballsy move to pull on TSA because I just wouldn't risk anything with them. Wear the dang gloves. Company policy states you have to wear gloves at all times on the shop floor, no matter what you are doing. As a maintenance engineer, and having served an apprenticeship, we were trained to never wear gloves when operating any rotating machinery, for the chance of catching said gloves in the rotating device. Now, in my company, maintenance engineers are the top of the hourly paid food chain. Most managers know that if you're in maintenance, you tend to know what you are doing. I'm running a cable and conduit for an install, have to mount a small panel to a wall as well as in a production area. Need to use a drill? No big deal. Remove gloves to drill. Manager of said production area sees me working without gloves on, comes flying over. "Get a pair of gloves on, you know the policy." I'm quite aware of the policy, but I was trained to never wear gloves while using a rotating device. "I don't care, get a pair of gloves on." Malicious compliance time. Okay, no problem. I put on my gloves and sit my butt down right beside where I'm working. "What are you doing?" "You told me to put my gloves on, I've done that." "Well, why aren't you finishing the job?" "Can't use the drill with gloves on." Manager flips out, calls my maintenance manager, who always has his men's back, because he used to be a maintenance engineer, who promptly comes to where I'm working. Maintenance manager asks what the problem is. I tell him, "Manager wants me to wear gloves to finish this job. I just have to mount this panel, which involves me drilling a few holes." "Say no more." Maintenance manager pulls the production manager into an office and reams him out, explaining that all of his men are fully trained engineers, and no matter what the company policy is, they do not wear gloves when operating a rotating device. Maintenance manager storms out of office, telling me to carry on regardless of this idiot and to not worry about it. I finish my work, no gloves. If an engineer says, "Oh, I can't wear gloves because it's a rotating device and it'll probably be bad," then you should probably just listen to them, you know? Don't want me to throw my trash away? Okay. This one is short but sweet. Once, when I was around 5 or 6, I was playing outside with this girl that lived on my street. I had just eaten a banana, and being a law-abiding, innocent 6-year-old, I was looking everywhere for a bin to put the skin into. The girl, who was a couple of years older than me, said something like, "That's lame, just throw it on the ground like I do." So I did. A few minutes later, she slipped pretty badly on the skin and broke her leg. That's like a classic cartoon mistake, that's amazing.
Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.